In this video, I'm going to show you the basic workflow with Lightroom. How do we use Lightroom, how we get started, and I will show you how to work with it from beginning to end. So these are the basic workflow in Lightroom. First, we need to put the raw photos in a permanent folder. And secondly, we need to import those photos in Lightroom. And then third one, we will treat the pictures, meaning to say if it's too dark, we'll make it a little bit brighter. If you want it to be a bit saturated or with vibrant color, we can set it there. And once we are done with all those treatment, the last step is to export the treated photos. So that's the four basic steps or workflow with Lightroom. Okay, so now let's begin with the first step, and that is putting all the photos in a permanent folder. All right, let me share this file explorer where I saved the photos. So over here, inside this PC, local disk D, and inside this folder, primary school candid, and I added the word raw to remind me that the pictures inside are not treated yet. So these are the pictures that we will be treating with Lightroom. And the first step is make sure that these photos are inside a permanent folder. So why it should be in a permanent location? Because once we import these photos in Lightroom, it will create a link connection with this specific file location, this PC, local disk D, and the folder name. And then when you move this folder, after creating those connections, you will have a problem with Lightroom. Lightroom won't be able to locate these files unless you tell Lightroom where it is the new location. So before you do anything with Lightroom, make sure that the images are in a permanent location in your local drive. Okay, so the next step, of course, is to import the photos. So we need to open our Lightroom. Okay, Adobe Lightroom Classic, and um, so this is how Lightroom looks like. If this is your first time to work with Lightroom, you need to start with clicking File and then New Catalog. So catalog is like a file name for a file name for photos that are related to each other. So for example, um, if I'm going to work with photos of the school for the whole semester, I might name this as well the school name and then 2023. Or if these photos are of a specific event, so maybe I can do like Valentine's 2023, something like that. But these photos are about the primary class, so I can just write primary uh, photos, maybe 2023. Right, so create, and then Lightroom will close and open with your new catalog file. Okay, so this is how Lightroom looks like. Um, the workflow starts from left to right. So think of it that way. Over here are the sources of the pictures, and then in the middle where you will work with, and then on the right are the tools. And then over here, the same thing. You start with the library, and you after it's in the library where we import pictures. And then after that, we go to develop to treat the images, and then we export it. Now the rest of these are other things that you can do with Lightroom, but I think we will not do in our class. So let's go to library to import the images in Lightroom. So when you go to library, this is the import button. Like I said, left to right. So you click this. Then we need to go to the location where we save the raw files. So it's in D and this folder here. All right, by default, it's all checked. And then you can uncheck it if you don't want some photos, but we need all those. So leave it checked and then import. So you see we start with the left, we look at the middle and then to the right. So now these pictures are now imported to Lightroom. So we need to go to develop and we are now proceeding to the third step. Okay, so we are now in the um, develop module, and now it means we are ready to treat particular photos. Now, if you want to see the other pictures, you need to go down here and click this one, or maybe it's already shown on your computer. Just in case you want to hide it, just click this, hide and show. So over here, you can select pictures that you want to treat. Let's start with this one here. So once again, left to right, we don't need the presets right now. We will go straight with the sliders here, the settings here. The basic panel, as you can see, there are many panels here. The basic panel that you need most of the time is this one. It says basic panel. So as you notice, the image is a bit dark. So what we can do is we can use the exposure to slide it to the right to make it brighter. Um, Also, the shadow parts are dark, so we can slide the shadows slider to the right as well until we are satisfied with the. And then if the white here or the highlight is too much, then you can work with the highlight. Maybe you drag it to the left. So it's really up to your taste or to your objective. If the colors are not the way you want it, maybe this one is too reddish or greenish, then you can do with the temperature. For the temperature, if you slide it to the left, it will be cold or bluish. If you slide it to the right, it will be yellowish or warm. Okay. Now, if you don't want the colors to be too saturated, so you can use the saturation and slide it to the left. Anyway, once you are done doing all these things, that's the step where what we call treating. Or maybe if you want black and white, you can go to this and things will be black and white. Okay, suppose you're done with the treatment. Now let's go to the fourth step, exporting. So to export this, all you need to do is right click on the picture, or you can also right click here. So let's do that. Right click and then export and then export. So this export dialog box will appear. You need to read this, export to hard drive, that's what we need. And then the location, most of the time you want it to be in the same folder as the original photo. And then in that folder, we want to make another subfolder, another folder. We can name it as treated. Okay. And then for now, we'll just skip all these parts here. All right. And then export. So that's it. That's the basic workflow for Lightroom. Now let's see the photo that we just treated and exported. So over here is the primary school candid raw folder. These are the raw files. And then inside there's a subfolder treated, which we made a while ago while we are exporting. And this is now the treated photo that we did. Okay. So the treated photo, most of the time we want it to be JPEG. So if you go right click, view, details, you see for the type it says JPEG. All right, so that's the basic workflow with Lightroom. Um, Once again, you put all the raw files in a permanent location in a folder, and then in Lightroom you go to library and click import, and then locate the folder where the photos are, and then you click import here, and then once it's imported you go to develop, and then choose the picture that you want to work with, and then use the sliders here. And then once you are done, right click inside and then export, then export. And then check this, and then just answer the other settings here, and then click export. Now let me show you the problem if we will move this away, or maybe change the name. Um, I'll just put X at the end. And now with Lightroom, it still says the file could not be found. So before you edit things in Lightroom, bear in mind that the raw file should be in a somehow a permanent folder, because once it's in Lightroom, once you imported the photos, then the Lightroom will make a connection to the specific location of the files. And when you move it away, or when you rename the folder name, then you will have an error with Lightroom. All right, that's all.